Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're more than welcome to another episode 68 of the Coffee at 11 show, brought to you by wigwam.ie SME peer support on this beautiful Wednesday morning. Delighted to have as my guest today Karina Murray, who's CEO of and founder indeed of AUNUA Academy. Karina, please say hello and show us your coffee mug, please.
Oh yes, yeah. Cheers. Good morning, and thank you so much for having me this morning. It's lovely to meet you all and be here, and I have my bucket of coffee to keep me going.
Lovely, lovely, lovely.
Which I almost forgot to make. I was almost going to say that the crucial mistake I almost made. We're rushing up here to get away from the kids before I was shot to death with the Nerf guns that are happening downstairs.
Lovely,
I thought,
lovely.
I got my cup, but anyway, there it is.
You did very well, because that is a mortaler in the Coffee at 11 show, so you would have been...
Yeah.
Eamon would have had to use his eject button had you not had coffee with you. Okay. Before I bring Karina in, let me just tell you a little bit about Karina, please. So Karina Murray is her name. AUNUA Academy is the name of the business. What does your business do? Emotional health and well-being platform with humanitarian projects at the heart of our global development goal mission. Very well done. How long established? 3 years. How many employees? Approximately 30 volunteers and speakers. Karina is the founder and CEO of AUNUA Academy, an entrepreneur. She's a humanitarian with a vision to ignite young people's curiosity of a new age of learning. Radio presenter as well on Together FM. And she's one of the founding members of Roger James Hamilton's Genius School. Interested to hear a little more about that. She's also Irish ambassador for Beluga Global. And again, I'd like to hear a little more about that in a while. And a big advocate for Africa with AUNUA Africa. Our projects, she says, include an orphanage in Uganda, Upcycle Africa, and empowering women. AUNUA Academy's ethos is centered around education, economy, ecosystem, environment, and empowerment. And something nobody would pick up automatically from Karina is that she says, people think I'm confident, but I'm really shy and prefer to take a back seat. And she goes on to say, I thank God for Google's spell and grammar check. So I bluffed my way as my gift is the spoken word. Fantastic. Thanks for being so honest. First build of us. Right, Karina, we're going to get to the business side of Karina Murray in a while, if that's okay. But I always say to my guest, we can Google the business. So you're not here for the business piece. We're here to find out about you. So we bring us all the way back, very early years. What formed you into the person that you're today, please?
Yes, I love it. And it's nice actually to go back and it was interesting, you know, to actually go back in time. Sometimes it's something we tend to forget to go back to, but you know, first and foremost, who am I? I'm a mom of two amazing kids, two little redheads, who are the center of my world, and they are my teachers and my inspiration for everything I do. Going back myself as a child, I grew up in, you know, I actually was born in Inchicore in Dublin, and then I moved to Templeogue. But I was Inchicore was my dad had a shop in Inchicore. Some of you might be aware of. God forbid, he had a shop like Aladdin's cave. It was Bulger's electrical and furniture. So he bought and sell everything, you know, secondhand. He was like, you know, I remember going there as a kid and things were stacked up everywhere, and you'd be climbing in over couches and everything else. So he was a hard-working man, worked 6 days a week, and my mother was like she was like the Mother Earth, you know, the mother to us, and she'd always have the doors open for every child on the road, and she was like the Mother Teresa on the road. That was her name. That is her name. So I had a wonderful childhood with amazing parents, and I had 3 siblings, a brother and a sister. Yeah, so I had a really, you know, that was really, I was very lucky to have that, because going back to my childhood days, in school, they weren't very pleasant ones. I do recall, you know, I went to an all-girls school, and it was ruled by nuns. So it was, you know, you know, keep up or else, you know, or fall behind, you know, and it was ruled by the L cane. If you got things wrong, slap on the L hands or the back of the legs, you know. So, you know, it was really, I was a child that did struggle in school. I was a daydreamer and a child that had, my mind was elsewhere. So I wasn't really academically focused. I was a creator. I had, you know, and of course, you know, back at the time when you feel that you can't keep up, you know, and you're missing out, you know, I just felt that I you know, I hadn't got a place there. I just felt I was the square peg. I didn't belong in school. So I remember I used to have this cough, and I used to put on this cough and pretend I was sick all the time. My mother had me at every specialist trying to discover what was wrong, and I did everything I could to try and get out of school. And it was, you know, so it was challenging. And of course we have, you know, going through school, all girls as well, there was a lot of, you know, there was a lot of isolation, I suppose, at times when you don't, you know, fit into a particular group. And it's interesting looking, you know, look at my own daughter now today and how she struggles in school. And it just reminds me so much of how it is, how much is, you know, really it is, kids are really struggling, and you know, not so much has changed really, because it is something that I think should have been instilled in children all over these years. Something should have really resonated back then, and made people realize that, you know, we need to focus on educating that child and focusing that child to build up those amazing skills of how to be resilient and how to understand and tap into how to deal with life situations, and how to, you know, I'll talk about that later on anyway, but that was me as a child, you know. So I was, you know, I was a kind of a happy release, you know, going through, you know, when I did leave school eventually, and I couldn't wait to leave there. The Daydreamer, had my ideas elsewhere. So, so yeah, I basically, you know, I did a lot of things then when I was sick. Yeah, I did transition year actually. I did a 4th year. A 4th year was the year for me. I got to do couple of little jobs, which was wonderful. And I got a better sense of who I was and what I was capable of. And it opened up a lot of opportunities for me. And I suppose I remember going on a retreat actually at one stage, and it's amazing how these things when we're kids really, you know, really change our lives and help shape us, you know. And this retreat was we had a night stay out in some convent out in the countryside. I'd love to know where exactly. I'd have to try and recall back where that was, but it was things like, you know, it was, I remember doing meditation, and it was very, you know, back then many years ago, like it's quite a while ago, I remember how much that meant to me, you know, and how much, you know, it gave me a deeper understanding of different things, and it was a really sense of working together as teams and the importance of that. And for the first time ever at that age, when I was in transition year, I remember feeling, okay, I feel like I'm accepted now. I feel like I am, you know, thank you. I felt accepted, and I felt I had a part, and I had a place. And, you know, it's so many simple things. There's the little things, like I remember there was little copybooks going around. Everyone had to write something positive about each other. And that made such a difference to me, realizing, okay, I had a value, and the person I was, you know, had an impact on somebody else. So, and these things are so important. So anyway, at 16, after my transition year, I decided that's it, I've enough of this now. I'm out of here. I certainly was no intention of going back in there or any longer than I had to. That institution of education was not for me. So the chains of release were, I actually was very artistic, very creative, and I remember I worked really hard to get into art. Grafton Academy actually was fashion design, art and design. And
before we go,
yes.
That was just a lovely, lovely introduction. Thank you for bringing us there. Really lovely. And I was making notes, so I'd like to just reflect back on a few of them, if I may, before we go.
Yes, please, yeah.
And by the way, you're not the first person who's come on the show who's been through the Grafton Academy either, which I find really interesting. So, yeah. Look, a couple of things that I just touched on. You spoke about your dad's Aladdin's Cave in Inchicore back in the day. It was a wonderland for kids climbing over stuff.
Yeah.
And then you were very honest about school not being a pleasant experience for you. And, you know, the nuns and the corporal punishment and all that bad stuff that went on back in the day. You're a daydreamer. You have to be a dreamer to have created an AUNUA Academy. So those seeds were obviously there very early on. However, the problem with the education system back then, and perhaps to a certain degree still now, is the education system, you know, it's one size fits all. And we know that not to be true. So it didn't cater to your needs. Loved the idea that you fabricated a cough and your mother was dragging you to every specialist under the sun. Nothing wrong with you at all.
I know.
Go girl. The next part that struck me was you admitted to your daughter having similar challenges today. Now, there's no corporal punishment, thank God, and all that stuff. That's moved
Yes.
on. But we're, you know, it struck me that the education system hasn't moved on if her daughter's brilliance hasn't yet been identified, her genius hasn't yet been identified, which is probably where the genius school is going to come in a little while. And then I love the fact that you got to TY, but there was a sort of a sadness. We applauded you for that moment where you said, I finally realized that I'm okay being me.
Yeah.
You know, in that year. And you got people writing stuff. Yeah, thank you indeed.
Thank you.
But yeah, you got people writing stuff in your diary, in your journal, saying that you're actually okay.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Lovely. I just couldn't rush through capturing that. So thank you. Right, we're 16 heading to the...
Oh yeah. 16, oh gosh. So 16 was, it was a, you know, there was a lot of different things. I actually got involved with extra work in movies, and I did a lot of promotional work, and I just really kind of embraced life and every opportunity I could. And considering I was a shy child and I was very kind of kept myself to myself, I don't know where this newfound, it's amazing how something just clicks, and it's just clicks, and it's just like, okay, now I'm just, you know, I have a better sense of who I am, what I'm capable of. And I remember like doing, you know, it was really like, I mean, I remember, like, I'll tell you a bit of a funny story. I remember working for a promotional company, Cheer Up Promotions, and I'll never forget my first job. They said, okay, Karina, you need to be in here for 7 o'clock in the morning for a promotion. And they handed me this costume, myself and another girl, and it was a costume of a French maid. And they handed me a pair of skates, yeah. So my first job, promotion job, was skating around Leeson Street, if you don't mind, outside an ironing service around there, handing out flyers to cars and people walking past. And I think back the crazy things, dressing up at other opportunities, like at Santa Girl on skates, and became a bit of an expert in skates for a while. A banana and you know, sunflower on skates and you name it, but did some crazy things, but really fun things that kind of made me come out of myself, you know. And then of course the film work was really super as well. I remember it was Liberty Hall, and it was Equity at the time, and I remember getting involved in that and going out and doing movies like Michael Collins and Into the West, and you know, other ones, David Copperfield. I remember meeting the film censor there at the time, and he was topping me up with brandy in my coffees in the cold days, and you know, and it was just excitement, a new world, and it just, I suppose all these experience all do help shape you, you know. But it's amazing. I think that's really wonderful, and think that we need to look at our own kids and think that, you know, no matter what circumstances they've gone through, that, you know, so much is possible. Like, it just really it just takes a simple switch, a person, a conversation, experience that just changes everything. And I really just wish that for every child, you know. So beautiful, well said. I'm intrigued going from a French maid and a banana on skates to the Michael Collins movie. How does that happen? What was your role in, what was your role in film? Yeah, oh, Michael Collins, it was, I was an extra, so I remember I had to wear the big dresses and the big hat, and you know, all the big costumes. And I remember it was on Dame Street, I think it was. They had closed off the whole street. Like, God, they wouldn't get away with it now. I don't think. Well, they, you know, although the place has been stranded the last few months, I suppose. But yeah, but they shut the whole street down, the whole road down, and they took over and they just brought it back to that era. And I just, you know, it was Dublin Castle, and it's incredible. Like, it was an amazing experience. And Into the West is another one, and oh, and the Snapper. I was in the Snapper. That was a funny one, yeah. So yeah, so it was an amazing experience, you know. And I suppose when you're doing extra work, you're meeting different people, and you're experiencing a different side of, you know, you're seeing the different celebrities in the background and looking at the way they're doing things, and you know, it was exciting time.
Fabulous. I actually remember going in. All of Dublin went into the side of Dane Street, all the streets that led off it, and we stood there, you know, watching Michael Collins or Liam Neeson, watching Liam Neeson in the car going through one scene, and quite an incredible experience. In fact, amazing. Peter Halpin has joined us this morning, just back fresh from New York. Peter's a professional actor over there.
Super.
So welcome, Peter. Nice to have you in the cafe today. Great stuff. Right.
So.
Very, very interesting.
Okay, so then at 60, yeah, so anyway, then after that, only like doing those little jobs, everything else, I went into college. I decided, okay, got into the Grafton Academy, fashion design, and basically I'd realized after doing a summer course there, because I was looking and finding something to do, and I did the summer course and I loved it, and I went and spent 3 years there. But during that time I actually got a J1 visa, and at 19 I decided to head off to New York on my own. I did know somebody over there, so I had somewhere to stay, but it was a huge opportunity. I remember everyone said, no, you won't do it. You're not going to head off. I'd only just turned 19. And the more they said that, the more I said, I'm going. That's it. I'm out of here. So and that was it was an amazing experience, because going over there, I had 2 jobs. I worked in a design company, and I worked as a waitress, and you know, things like crazy thing. I remember I was so green going over there, just thinking like, so, you know, so funny, you know, going over. And I remember they were asking me, fill all the crates with white wine and red wine and put ice and everything. And I remember I handed out these crates of red wine with ice, full of ice, and the white wines as well. And they were like, oh my God, I thought, that's what you told me to do. So I totally hadn't a clue. It was just a huge eye opener. And coming home, then thinking when I was leaving America as well, I remember sitting in JFK airport, and I had I'd taken up smoking over there, and, you know, thinking I was cool and I was going to be, you know, cool coming back, and that's all. But I remember sitting there having my Taco Bell and sitting there, and all the papers were there, and I started to light up a cigarette, threw my match down. The next thing I had a little fire. So a little fire there, and I was so mortified I just had to walk away. I don't know what happened. It wasn't much. I'm sure they didn't need a fire extinguisher, but you know, thinking I had made it, this is it, I'm so cool, and then just going, wow.
Oh, brilliant. That's a great story. I can just imagine you're walking away, and security and JFK closed down, Irish traveller returns, you know. Brilliant, brilliant. So back to Ireland, where we go next?
So came back to Ireland, and I remember at that stage, I had to write bullet points, you know, and I never really do this. I run bullet points today, because I thought, Jesus, I'm never going to remember all that. What did I do then? Okay, so 19 came back, returned home. Oh, then I fell in love with a photographer, an English photographer, and I decided to move to England. It wasn't straight away. I was 21 at the time. So I moved to the UK, and I lived the high life over there for a while, and he was 12 years older, so there was a big age gap there. So I suppose he swept me off my feet, and, you know, I'd done a long distance thing for a while, and then moved over. And that was incredible. You know, I suppose I really developed a sense of independence over there, and you know, I had to kind of be more mature in a certain way. But I remember I had a swimming pool in my back garden, and I went to balls, and I had all this incredible life, and it was like, oh my God, living that. But was I happy? No. No, not eventually. You know, I felt homesick. You know, I was happy for a while, felt homesick, and that broke up, and I came running back home with a tail between my legs, drove all the way from Southampton to God, where did I drive to? Yeah, anyway, I remember driving for hours to get to I've got a blank now. But anyway, I drove back home, came back home, I got the ferry back, and then came back here, and felt really fantastic that I was home again, and I never want to live anywhere else, really, you know. And then I went to work in a company, in an office, doing you know, worked doing secretarial sort of work and managing diaries for health and safety company. And during that time, I met one of my really close friends in there, and we basically, during this time, we decided that we wanted to do something else. So we decided, we knew somebody that was doing property management, managing properties, and we decided, okay, well, let's just pack in the job. Let's just, you know, let's find out a way how to do this sort of work. So we looked it up. How do you do property management? How do you manage properties? Blah, blah, blah. And we had a conversation with somebody. And then I remember the guy that we knew in there, he said, okay, how about I bring you along to this big property management meeting, it's an event that's going on with those property managers. And he said, you can come along. And I remember the day before printing up business cards for Erin Property Management. And they're still going now today, yeah. Initially, we hadn't a clue what we were doing. We just bluffed it. We talked to all the property managers, and we went in there, and we got our break with one of the guys from Wise Property Management. And he said, okay, well, come and meet me. We went to meet him and he says, okay, there's a couple of properties I want to get rid of. And he said, would you take them over? And we said, absolutely. So that was it. And I remember, I'll never forget the time going around with the clipboard with the management committee and the builders. We convinced the builders to give us the opportunity. We're going around with the clipboard and saying, and they were walking around this car park with leaks all over the place. Nothing, everything was wrecked or really in a bad way. And I remember saying, yes, no problem. We can deal with that. We can sort this out. And we can sort it out. Yeah, no problem at all. Very, very self-assured we were going to do it. And, we knew that we couldn't do it ourselves, but we could delegate this. That was the role if we had to do. And I suppose that was the biggest learning for me, because I remember having to go to, I was totally thrown in. She was dealing with all the accounts, my good friend, and I was dealing with all the people, the residents complaining and answering phone calls to God knows what time of the night. It was a really big eye-opener, and sitting in AGM meetings and having to answer questions to all these residents that were really pissed off. Angry about certain things, but we turned things around, and for a lot of them, and this was the amazing thing, we did turn things around, and we ended up doing extremely well, and that was amazing. And delegating and working with people and solving problems was my role there, so it kind of gave me a really great understanding of what I was capable of, and winging
Fantastic. Fantastic. Janie Lazare there leading the Bula bus all morning. Thank you. No, it's lovely. It's great. It's great. You see, there's a pattern unfolding here. That's why I love to go back. There's a pattern unfolding, and the pattern is, just get out there and try it. We're very honest that the education system didn't suit you, but you knew there was more inside of you, and that was reinforced in TY with those lovely journal entries. And then you ever since then you've been going out there and saying, you know what? What's the worst that can happen here?
Yes.
Your cards. Love that, printing your cards the day before you turn to a property management. Whatever you call it, conference. Yeah. Wonderful stuff. So how did AUNUA Academy, how did that all come to be then? I know that's more recent, but fast track us there, please. Yeah,
we're gonna yes, so basically you lose track of time, don't you? There's so many things to cover. So literally that was incredible time in my life. I got pregnant then during that time, and my friend did as well, literally weeks between each other. So we decided, okay, let's sell this, let's get out of here. And thankfully we got out of there just at the nick of time before the Celtic Tiger sort of high times, the crash, we got out, so we're very blessed. It still is that thankfully somebody else took over and did quite well with it. But it was, I had my babies, and my babies were my life, and I just wanted to be a mom, be there for them. So for 9 years I spent that time being there for them, and it was a wonderful time. But it was like my little boy was starting school at 5, and I'll never forget, it was like the bubble that in the sense of security I felt I had, was coming close to an end, and I had to find a way back to who I was. And I suppose I felt that I had to recreate the person, discover who I was really again, and where was I going to go from here. And I suppose a lot of things were going, there was a lot of things in my life at that time. My marriage was not good, and there was a lot of things happening, and I just thought, well, I need to find me, and how was I going to do this? And I thought, well, I need to believe that I'm capable of more. I need to believe that I can do this, and I need to be mindful of how I'm going to deal with the challenges and the changes that I'm going to have to do, and then, and take control of my life. So I started putting a plan together, and I thought, there's so many women out there that spend so many years being with their children, and then they come out of that bubble, and it's like, okay, where do we go from here? And that was really the start. And a new you was what I was looking for, a new me. And AUNUA was born. And AUNUA is an Irish play on words for a new you, so so I literally then...
Let me just stop you there. That's just beautiful. Bula bus all around the cafe.
Thank you, guys.
Listen, thanks, Karina, for going there. Anybody who comes on the show is welcome to go as deep as they want, but only as deep as they want into their story. Anybody who does go deep is helping somebody. There's somebody either in the cafe today or will hear the replay, and it'll speak to them. And I loved what you said there, that you realized when your youngest went to school age 5 that you had been in this bubble, and you realized, you said, I needed to find my way back to who I was. Beautiful phrase. I needed to find a way back to who I was. And you were also very honest about your marriage, and we won't go there necessarily, but thank you for sharing that, because life isn't perfect. This Instagram you know, social media view of the world is false, let's be honest, largely. So, however, there's a bar has been set up there that if my life doesn't look and feel like I see in these pictures, well, then there's clearly something wrong with me. Absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. So, very important that you acknowledge that for yourself, and thank you for sharing it. But I'm delighted that you asked yourself, how do I find me? And you have found you. So well done, you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
And then you became AUNUA.
Yeah, that's it, you know, and I think that's the crazy thing. I think, you know, I needed to find, it was like, I feel that AUNUA saved me in a way that, you know, gave me a purpose, a sense of what my purpose was. And I realized what I was capable of. Yeah, AUNUA was born, and I realized that, you know, this was the start of the journey for me. And I initially, you know, reached out everywhere and decided to build a team. And the team was, you know, we launched in February 2015, and it was extraordinary. And it was started out with adults, you know, men and women. You know, that was, you know, an incredible start. But I realized as the time went on, I realized that I was putting so much focus into that I realized that our children are the ones that need to be heard. I realized through a friend of mine who her young little boy at 11 was struggling with his own mental health. And I could see the ripple effect that it was having on her and the whole family. And I, with myself as a mother, I just couldn't bear to sit by and do nothing about it. So I remember quite clearly, it was like a promise. It was like something really, you know, it was like I felt compelled to do something. I wasn't prepared to sit back and wait for governments to make decisions on what needs to be done. I was going to do something about it. I thought if I can do it for adults, I can do it for kids, and kids need to be heard, and I need to be their voice. I need to do something. So I decided I'll reach out everywhere, and I'll enroll people that feel the same way, and I'll build the best team I can find. And, you know, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it. So it was like, really, like, there's so many people out there that just want to, that we just don't know where to start sometimes. And just sometimes it just starts with that first step, you know, and the steps, thank you guys. Yeah, just the first step. So I realized, okay, we'll start with, you know, talks and bringing people together, and I thought maybe schools. And then I realized it's not enough. You know, how do you reach, you know, how are we going to make a big impact, and how are we going to be able to reach all the kids we need to reach? So I thought online we need to have something online, some sort of training for teachers, or for, you know, teachers need to be trained how to understand, and we need to change the system. And how are we going to do this? So I started having these mad notions of holograms and, you know, and all this, bring it to the 3 arena, change the curriculum and enforce, get kids to be their voice, they need to be heard. And I just had all these notions, and all these things are very much real. So as far as, I don't see the world now as the big place I did before, because I suppose opportunities opened up for me, and made me realize that we all are connected. We all have the same, we all are the same. We all want the best for our kids. You know, we need to look at opportunities to give them a new sense of a world that, you know, a world that's going to be, we need to provide a better world for them. You know, we owe it to them. We have a responsibility to them, and the current one is not working, and the current situation is not working. You know, the Institute of Education is broken, it's damaged. You know, if we don't change something, if we don't look to bring in change, well, then we fail them. And we've got, you know, I talk to people about global development goals regularly, and a lot of people that haven't a clue, and yet we've got a world that is dying if we don't look after it in the next 10 years. And our planet is, you know, it's just not good enough. So, you know, unless we teach our kids and give them a better understanding of their great purpose within this world, and set them up for a world that's going to be there, well, then I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that I'm going to play my part and do everything I can. So thank you.
And do you know what I feel? I feel like a standing ovation should happen, but we're all sitting up there. I'm watching the faces in the crowd here, and it's just gorgeous. It's just beautiful stuff.
Thank you. Thanks.
And it's really interesting, Karina, to see you light up. It really grew and lit up as you got into that piece of the conversation. because you're absolutely passionate about it. Love the fact, see Jenny Lazar there all moved because she's all about change. She's all about change making, young change makers and the next generation, all this type of stuff. Love the fact that you made a promise. You said your friend, 11-year-old son, was struggling, and you basically decided that you're going to promise to do something about this. And then you took a step. Most importantly, you took a step. You didn't know where it was going to lead, but you decided, I don't know what I can do, but I can do something. And you did that one thing, and that's opened up this vista. And then you've got this big vision of a hologram, 3 arena, thousands of kids, I assume, speakers, all sorts of stuff. And you also pointed out the fact that all that stuff exists now. It is possible.
Yeah.
And at some point it will happen for AUNUA Academy. You just don't know quite when or how, but you know that it's possible and that it will happen.
Yeah.
And we'll be behind you every step of the way. So
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So the type of work that you get involved in, explain that, please, wouldn't mind.
Yes, absolutely. I just want to say one thing very quickly. The last, my daughter was sick for nearly 8 months. She was suffering with chronic nausea, and the reason I want to bring this up now is I think it's important. You know, I wondered for the whole time she was sick, why was she sick? She missed nearly, from September, she missed school, so much school, and I brought her to every doctor, every consultant, tried to dig deeper and trying to find out what was wrong with her for so long. She was suffering with chronic nausea, heavy head, heavy limbs, dizziness, headaches, all sorts of different things. And only in the last 2 months she's been feeling well again. Every night trying to cradle her to get her sleep at night time. She's 12. And it was a nightmare, and I don't know how she coped and managed, but each time I had to behave a certain way and be assertive with each doctor, each consultant, and it was so dismissed. She was pointed down a psychological route of psychological issues, but thank God we discovered only in the last 2 months that she had a thing called SIBO, which is a small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. I think it's really important, I want to specify this, that it's really important that we listen to our kids. My daughter pleaded with me to listen to her, and without doubt I was going to listen to her, but I was listening to the top consultant in the country that looks her straight in the eye and says, there is nothing physically wrong with you. You're the only one who can solve this problem. There's no illness in the world that causes chronic nausea. And the battle I had as a mother and the distress that it caused, I can't even comprehend what the damage it could have done to her, only that I was willing to fight for her, and she needed to be heard. But children are not being heard, and they're being dismissed, and mothers are finding it difficult. Me as a mother, each time my heart was broken. But going in there, I always had to be on top of my game at every doctor, every consultant, and I just feel it's so wrong. Our kids are out there, they're being pushed down roads of psychological issues, and a simple bacterial test that came back with a breath test was a home breath test that was sent to my home that was done, disclosed that she had a small bacteria overgrowth, and change in diet changed her life, gave her life back. So my fear is that our kids are not being diagnosed rightly. They're there's something seriously wrong here. I questioned, why is this happening? And of course I know why it's happening. I knew why it happened, and thank God she's made a full recovery. But I needed to go through that myself to see what it is to be a mother of a sick child, and to see what the situation is and the system is like. So from every angle I was kind of getting it, and I just realized, now more than ever, I've got more fire in my belly than ever before, because, these kids need to be heard, so that's my thing. And I did say earlier on, I never put myself in this position. I never intended to be a public figure person to speak out and be standing here and talking in front of people, but I knew that I had to do it, and I suppose I've learned a lot about, what's possible. The opportunities that opened up with the different partnerships and what's happened is all been a team effort. And I'd always say that, one person standing alone it has to be people that back you up and give you a sense of, that believe in you, first of all, self-belief and believe in you. And you have to borrow that self-belief. I didn't have it initially. Somebody lent it to me. And then I took hold of it, and I really made it my own, so it's the people, the support that I got, and it just takes one person,
Love it. Thank you, Janie. Fabulous. There's rapturous silent applause going on here in the cafe. Karina is just lovely. I love that. Had to borrow somebody else's self-belief until I could own my own. That's just gorgeous, you know. And very, there's a sadness but a beauty to it at the same time. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. At least you've done that. At least you borrowed somebody else's until you could start. It's absolutely all about team. But you seem to have an ability, and I think it goes back to the fire in your belly, you seem to have an ability to attract a team around you who get in behind your vision. And I'm fully confident, having met you here again this morning, that your vision for AUNUA Academy, we're only seeing the start of something huge, something huge. Do you mind if we just touch on Africa, if you don't mind? We had O'Connor and Roisin Kelly in recently, and they've got work going on in Africa. Can you touch on that for us briefly?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Excuse me. We have, when I was a child, it's funny, I'll go back a bit again. I remember as a child, I'd never seen a person from Africa. I'd never seen a man of color, anyone of color. I remember one time sitting on my outside on my bollard outside my driveway, and this dark man, this colored man of color walked past, and he picked up on something in me, and he started a conversation because I was having a bad day or whatever, and he picked up a conversation. I'll never forget that man. Every day he'd come back, every day. He was a missionary in the local church, and he was the wonderful man. I remember, you know, he was there for a few weeks. He got to know the community and the children, and he had a big party at the end of it all. He used to call me Queen. And I was his queen, and he was a wonderful, kind man, and it was something resonated with me. Then later on, I always had this thing about Africa and about the disadvantaged, the most deprived countries and the most deprived people. How can I help, you know? And I always felt helpless because I hadn't got the money to do anything much about it. I've never had any money, never known what to do. But I knew that with part of AUNUA, there had to be a part that, you know, really gave young people a sense of what it is to make a difference in this world, and how can we make an impact in the most disadvantaged countries. And Africa was always one of those, you know. So I really kind of, you know, thanks to the social media and what's possible, I have connected with people in Africa. I have regular conversations with people in Africa, and I see what's happening, and I really have become a really, you know, I've got a great deep of understanding and more love and respect for these people that are fighting and to survive. And this whole coronavirus, a lot of people now have lost any opportunities to make money to be able to feed their families and their communities, and they really are struggling. So there's one orphanage in particular, Future Parents Africa, and the most wonderful man is minding, he's responsible for 27 little children, and you know, and I basically, we're looking at a self-sustainable Africa with AUNUA Africa, and we've got an amazing team. I'm working with two incredible people on my team, which is Kaisa and Dahi. I want to give them a shout out, not to mention all the other amazing people as well. But they basically, you know, us together, we're a powerhouse. You know, we've been able to kind of do so much. And with Africa now, we're looking at ways to help empower young people in Africa and help to give people the support, and look at ways we can look at, you know, different sorts of opportunities to create a better world. But connecting children from around the world is one of our partners, Beluga, and that connects children and teachers around the world, and we're one of the partners on that one. So it opens up amazing opportunities for our young people if they can tap into that and see what it is, what small difference can I make in my world that makes a big difference in their world. And even just to inspire them is enough. With a little story or a little bit of encouragement, you know, is enough. But yeah, so there'll be more on that.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Come here, absolutely beautiful. Thank you for going there. You know, we did have Paddy and Roisin in, and they're doing work in Girls Rescue Centre in Kenya. And we also had Eddie O'Shaughnessy, the lovely Eddie O'Shaughnessy, who set up an orphanage. Please look at it. I think you need something.
I'd love to hear more, yes.
We had Eddie O'Shaughnessy in, who set up two creches in Calcutta after the demise of his lovely wife, Kathy O'Shaughnessy creches. So it's really good work that's going on out there, and we don't get to see it. So we have Queen Karina in the room and Prince Shelley in the room. Very royal gathering today. Very royal gathering. It's a lovely conversation. Eamon has put all of your contact details into the chat there, so people can connect with you if that's okay. And
yes, of course, please do. Yeah.
We're having several live events following the series of the Coffee at 11 show. One is happening on the 25th. Here's the date for your diary, folks. 25th of July, Saturday the 25th of July, and it's here in Burnthill in the Old Barracks Coffee Roastery. And the Old Barracks is going to sponsor the event. So basically, you'll pay whatever you want for your coffee, and they'll put that into a bucket, let's say, and we will divide that across the various charities that have come on the show. So I'm quite sure we'll be able to help AUNUA Academy along somehow with that.
Thank you. That'd be wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah,
pleasure. Real pleasure, Karina, having you on the show this morning. Thank you for that. We're going to go to Q&A from the floor, if that's okay, as we always do. And before we do that, I might ask you, if you wouldn't mind, what are you taking from COVID? What positive are you taking from COVID that you can let go?
Yeah, it's become a really important time for, I think we've all realised the sense of community and people and what we've taken for granted, the small little things, such small things. I just, began to realise the importance of everything. Rushing around like headless chickens is me very often, running around from here to there. And when you've got family and you've got responsibilities. So I think really just taking stock of what's really important to us, and the simple things in life are what matters really. So I just hope that we just we don't go back to the way we were, and that madness that it was before. It's been a really tough time for so many people, and I think that this Mother Earth, there's something happening at the world, there's something happening up there now, and there's a big sign, and it's a big wake-up call for all of us. And if we don't take this time to make it, take this opportunity to do something great with our lives, and realize this is a wake-up call for all of us, well then we've we might not have learned as much. We need to kind of really take stock of what we can offer and what we can do. I think it's important.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Couldn't ask for a better response to that question. The question has changed over the last number of weeks, because it was like, what's your tip for coping through COVID? We are definitely coming out the far end here, so it's really, well, now what are we taking with us? So thank you for that, Queen Karina. Lovely to have you. Lovely to have you here in the cafe with us today. Okay, who'd like to ask Karina a question or comment? The lovely Sarah Ward. Thank you for that, Sarah.
Hi, Karina. How are you?
Hi, Sarah. How you doing?
Incredible interview. I just wanted to stand up and just shout out on stage there. You're just incredible.
Thank you.
I just had to say that helping the kids is something close to my heart as well. I think it's very, very important, and I think the work you're doing is fantastic, and I wish you all the best, because it's very, very needed. And fair dues to you. You're a very interesting lady. You've had an incredible life, and fair dues to you. Even though you said, what was it you said about being, you said something I thought was very good, not academically focused. I thought that was very good. I wasn't very academically focused either in school, and then sure, listen, I got into fierce trouble with the nuns. But I think you've become an incredible person. So fair dues, you are incredibly academically focused. Well done, well done.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sarah.
Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too. Thank you.
Isn't that lovely? That's just lovely. Sarah, thank you for that. Sarah is one of our stalwarts. Has been here since the very first show, Sarah, for almost every day. I think she may have missed one, but we got her. We're fine. Listen, that was just gorgeous. That was a beautiful little interaction.
Thank you so much.
So well said on behalf of all of the people in the cafe, Sarah. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Sarah. I hope you're feeling the love here today, Karina.
I really am. I'm very overwhelmed. I'm really feeling it. I can't thank you enough. I feel very much, I feel very comfortable, very, very welcomed, and very loved. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very special. Thanks for making it.
It's a very special environment. It's a very special environment. All we did was, and this is what's happened. Actually, all we did was do something like you're doing with the mill. We just started something, and this is what's happened. And we've got this beautiful crew that turn up every day. And
it's wonderful.
Listen, go Princess Shelley. Apparently, some people's favourite part of the show. Rumour has it.
Ah, wow. Oh my goodness.
Keep watching this space, everyone. Yeah, the love is there. I feel the love. And do you know what? This is what I'm getting kisses and everything here, you see, because the camera doesn't pick it up. I'm getting kisses blown and everything. Loads of comments. They kicked off very early, Karina, you know, throughout the interview. And as the weeks have gone on in the cafe, we used to just get a few comments in towards the end when we came to this section. And now it's come to the point where our regulars are in the cafe and they can't wait to kind of put in the comments. So I have some lovely comments here to share with you.
Yeah.
Janie, who is founder of TEDx Dunleary, she's here in the cafe. She was a guest last week, a wonderful guest. And early on, you were talking about the way that children are educated and the flaws of it, the one-size-fits-all nature. And Janie just popped in and said that the way kids are still being educated has to change slowly. Individual teachers are doing their best, but collectively, the creativity and individuality of kids needs enhancing, not stifling. And I can see James nodding there and Dee's nodding. So that's definitely something that we'd like to see. And that brings me nicely to Dee. Thanks again for being here, Dee. You said that I love that you, like Sarah said there a moment ago, that you can say you weren't academically minded, but you're a creator and a daydreamer, which is such a rich thing to be, you know. And she said that's a lovely way of saying it. She really appreciated the way you put it and that she'd love to have had that perspective. So thanks for that comment, Dee. I love that. And then Janie mentioned afterwards then hats off for recognizing how early on what it is that you wanted to do, you know, so that she liked that. We heard from Sarah, who said it was an exciting experience, and we've got claps and hearts and from Sarah.
Thanks.
And James said that you were talking about the extra work, and like that I found the segue from being on roller skates, a sunflower on roller skates. I just loved the imagery and the vision of it, to be in these movie sets of these big movies like The Snapper, and like if that movie comes on, my husband has to watch it. It's just cool. And then you've got the big Michael Collins and that segue, you know, and James popped in and said the range of talents that do extra work on productions, on set, writers, poets, artists, can really teach you so much being surrounded by that environment. So thank you very much for that. At that point in the chat, Colm said hi to Pete, who's in the cafe. Hi, Pete. You might give everybody a wave there. And he appreciated the welcome and is really enjoying the great story that you said. I'll only do one or two more, guys, because there's lots and lots more, and I do apologise if I don't get to you. Christine Duff, who is joining us from Cork, she said at the very early part of the interview, don't be cutting yourself, Colm, that Dublin was the real capital. She said Cork is the real... But she did say in relation to the interview, Karina, she said that she had chills. Listening to you, she can hear your pride as you're talking about your purpose, and she can fully relate. It's just speaking to her on so many levels, and she's so grateful to be here and listening to you and that you're here sharing today. And when you said you felt compelled to do it, she feels every word and she says, you go, girl. So I think that's lovely, isn't it? Thank you, Karina. So lots and lots there. I mean, like I say, there's more coming in from Christina, and Janie has lovely. She was saying that money drives diagnoses that require medication. You were talking about your daughter. James said, as one person I can change the world, but as one person I cannot change the world, but I can change the world for one person. And that's what that man, that's what that man calling.
That's brilliant.
Is that lovely?
Brilliant. I love that, yeah.
That can be one of these grounding statements that Eamon introduces us to at the start of the show. I love that saying, and I've heard it before. So thank you. Eamon's popped in all the links, lots and lots of links, and also a link to a talk that you did or an interview you did recently on Today FM. So he's also popped that in. So there's plenty of opportunity for you all to check out all of Karina's work and what she's done. And Donach said, find your stolen moments, pop at them and treasure them. That's not the first time you've shared that, and I appreciate that as well. Thank you, Donach. I can't express enough, guys. It's you that makes this place the scrumptious place it is, and I get this really lovely kind of 5 minutes in the day to share it. So thank you for giving me that. I'm going to very quickly go to go to Janie. I know I'll have to keep it brief on time, but Janie's just going to come in.
I'm just blown away by what drives you, and it's very difficult to put into words what it is, that fire, but I had this feeling just flying up inside me when you were talking there. And I think it really is the kids, because they are seeing the world as it is right now, and how they interpret that world, how they see it, how they feel it, really is giving us, if you like, guidelines on what is needed to guide them into tomorrow, because they are the future. Yeah. But they're seeing it differently from us. We think we've got wisdom on one level. We don't have the wisdom of youth. And that is what they can give us to help form tomorrow. Karina, thank you. I'd love to talk to you more.
I'd love to talk to you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excellent. And we've seen so many connections happen in the cafe. So you've got the links there, look each other up, and it's beautiful to hear the exchange that you share and the similar ethos. And thank you, Jamie, for coming in and having that little conversation with Karina. It's now time for me to hand over back to your host. So it's bye from me, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Back over to you, Colm.
I love it. The Princess Shelley segment, it's become a thing. A thing within a thing, which is wonderful. Great to have it. And Christine Duff, I'm actually going on Instagram live this evening at 9 o'clock if anybody wants to tune in. At least I was supposed to be going on Instagram live this evening with Christine Duff, but that comment about the actual versus the real capital, I might be busy all of a sudden. One would never know. Just put it out there. No. So anchor your awareness on Instagram. We're going live at 9 o'clock. And as a friend of mine said to me last night, it's actually somebody interviewing me for a change. So that'll be interesting. You're welcome, Christine. Really exciting. Listen, it's just a pleasure. It really is a pleasure to be able to host this every day. And it's just been a joy through COVID. So thank you all for being part of it. Karina, Murray, thank you for stepping in today and for going where you went with it, because too many people come to the show thinking it's all about the business. The business is just one tiny, it's where you are now in your journey. That's all. The real depth is in the rooting. What brought you here? And because I think everybody in the cafe now can see where you're headed, and you're going to make a huge difference. Yeah, thank you, Janie.
Thank you.
Those connections happening. So get together, ladies, and make magic.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karina.
Thank you so much, everyone. You've been just so welcoming, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for listening. Okay.
Can I say something to Karina?
Please, Christine, please.
Oh yeah, Karina, I just want to commend you as like a mother for listening to your gut and just like doing what you had to do for your daughter like that. That just, when you were speaking and you were saying that, I was jumping around the kitchen making pancakes going, go on girl. Like to listen to your gut and to know, like, there's something that you can help your child with that, like, I can relate, because with my own kids and everything, I 100% I heard that, so well done.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Thank you for that. Absolutely lovely. Let me tell you what's going to happen in the cafe tomorrow, Coffee at 11 show tomorrow, Thursday. And it's an entrepreneurial granny coming in tomorrow. I love Barbara Gordon. Barbara Gordon is, she runs a website, a directory called whatswhat.ie. Perhaps some of you know it. If you don't, check it out. Whatswhat.ie. And she's got an incredible backstory that basically had her having to forge, if you like, a career and a path for herself to raise her own children. And that's why I want her to come into the coffee shop tomorrow and to be honoured with her story. So if you have time, please come in tomorrow to meet Barbara Gordon, the entrepreneurial granny who recently turned a healthy age. Won't talk to you about her age, she'd kill me for that. But pop in tomorrow, that'll be lovely if you honour her story. So thank you, Princess Shelley, for producing today's show. There you go. Thank you, Eamon Smith, aka the Monk, who has his lovely 5 children with him at this time. Well done, you, delighted. Thanks, Katrina O'Brien, in advance for making this beautiful later on today. Thank you for that. Even though you're on holidays, we really appreciate that. Thank wigwam.ie, SME Peer Support for their ongoing support. And finally, Queen Karina and your basset hand.
And Teddy.
Queen Karina
My
and
baby.
Teddy.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow. I'd love to hear this.